Why is your bank account slowly robbing you and then sending you a thank you note for letting it happen? Here is a cold hard fact that most financial advisors are too polite to say out loud, and honestly, half of them don't even understand the math themselves. In early 2026, the average savings account in the United States is paying a pathetic 0.7% to 1% annual interest. Sounds like progress, right? Wrong. Because while you're celebrating that tiny interest deposit, US inflation is running at 3.4% annually. Do the math. You aren't earning 1%, you are losing 2.4% of your purchasing power every single year. You are running on a financial treadmill that is actively moving backwards, and the bank is charging you a monthly fee for the privilege of sweating. If you have $10,000 sitting in a big-name bank right now, you are effectively burning $240 a year in real value. You aren't saving money, you're watching it evaporate into the digital void. Americans are currently holding over $17 trillion in these accounts. $17 trillion, slowly shrinking while the banks use your deposits to fund their record-breaking profits.
Today at Future Freedom 360, we're exposing the safe savings theater, revealing exactly where that stolen value is going, and handing you the wise money blueprint to stop the bleeding. Stay locked in. This video will permanently change how you see that number on your banking app. Part 2. The Inflation Trap, the Invisible Tax. Let's talk about the foundation, because if you don't understand inflation, you don't understand money, period. Inflation isn't just a headline about gas prices, it's a wealth transfer mechanism. It quietly moves purchasing power away from people who save and toward people who own. According to Federal Reserve data tracked into 2026, a dollar from the year 2000 now has the purchasing power of roughly 57 cents. Think about that. If your grandparents handed you $10,000 in 2000 and told you to keep it safe in a bank, don't touch it, honey, that's your future. That money today buys you barely half of what it would have back then. That wasn't safety, that was slow financial suffocation with a bow on top. Real-world case study, meet David. David is a 52-year-old school admin from Columbus, Ohio. He's been a diligent saver his entire life. He's got $40,000 parked in a traditional savings account at a Big Four bank. He checks his app every month, sees the $40,000, and feels virtuous. What David doesn't see is that in purchasing power terms, he is losing roughly $1,200 every single year. Over a decade, that's $12,000 in silent, invisible losses. No market crash, no fraud, just the system picking his pocket while he sleeps. The 1% don't keep cash. They own 31% of all US real estate and 38% of all stocks. They play the asset game, while the bottom 50% are told to play the savings game. The gap isn't an accident, it's the design. A confused customer is a profitable customer. Here is the magic show of banking. When you deposit $10,000, the bank doesn't put it in a velvet-lined box. They immediately lend it out. In 2026, the average credit card APR is hovering around 22% according to the CFPB. Think about the audacity of this business model. The bank borrows your money for 1% and lends it to your neighbor or even back to you via a credit card at 22%. That spread is why JP Morgan Chase alone cleared $49 billion in net income recently. You are the lender, they are the borrower, but somehow they own the skyscraper and you get a happy birthday email and a 0.01% interest notification that wouldn't even buy you a McDouble. You are funding the most profitable machine in human history and getting paid in crumbs. The moment you see this inverted relationship, you stop seeing your bank as a safe haven and start seeing it for what it is, a profit tool for someone else. Move number 1, the high-yield escape route.
Stop accepting retail interest rates. You need an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, but it should not be at a Big Four bank. Move it to a high-yield savings account, HYSA, or a money market fund. The math. A nurse in Phoenix named Maria moved $15,000 from a Chase account, paying 0.01%, to an HYSA, paying 4.6%. Her annual interest went from $1.50 to $690. That's a free flight, a new laptop, or 7 shares of an index fund, just for clicking a few buttons. It's the most embarrassingly easy win in personal finance. Move to the 80-20 cash rule. Psychological safety is the most expensive emotion you own. Most people hoard cash because they fear the unknown. But once your emergency fund is set, follow the 80-20 rule. No more than 20% of your total savings should be in cash. The other 80% must be deployed into assets that outpace the printing press. Historical fact. If you put $10,000 in the S&P 500 in 2014, by early 2026, it would be worth over $35,000. In a savings account, it's $10,600 in nominal terms, but in milk and eggs terms, you're poorer than when you started. Idle cash is a slow-motion car crash for your wealth. Move number 3, saving versus storing value. The Bitcoin exit. Saving is not spending. Storing value is preserving power. You need to understand the difference. In 2026, the US dollar is an infinite supply currency. Bitcoin is a finite supply asset. Central banks bought over 1,000 tons of gold last year. Why? Because they know the dollar is a melting ice cube. As of 2026, Bitcoin has emerged as the digital gold for the 7%. It's the only asset with a hard cap of 21 million that no government can print away. When you stop thinking in dollars and start thinking in purchasing power, you realize that saving in a depreciating currency is a losing strategy. Storing value in a scarce asset is the only way to win. Part 5. 2026 Fraud Alert, the Safety Marketing Trap. As people wake up to the inflation trap, predators are evolving. Watch out for these 3 safe scams. The introductory rate bait. Online banks offering 5% APY that secretly drops to 1% after 90 days. Always read the fine print, specifically the variable rate clause. The yield mirage. Apps promising 10 to 12% returns on your cash by staking it in crypto protocols. If it's not FDIC insured, it is not a savings account. It's a high-risk investment disguised as a piggy bank. Remember Celsius and Voyager. Peer-to-peer lending. They market it as high-yield savings, but your principal is tied to someone else's car loan. If they don't pay, you lose. That's not a bank, it's a casino where you're the house that loses. Financial illiteracy, empowering and uplifting with a steady, reassuring voice. Financial illiteracy cost Americans an average of $1,819 per person last year. That's a stupid tax paid directly to the banking system. In 2026, financial literacy isn't a luxury, it's survival infrastructure. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed for the people who understand it. The only question is which side of that design you want to be on. Insight without action is just expensive entertainment. Do 3 things right, sir. 1. Smash that like button. It tells the algorithm that financial truth is more important than hype. 2. Subscribe to Future Freedom 360. We release new blueprints every week on debt truth, Bitcoin, and the psychology of wealth. 3. Comment below. Be honest. What is your bank paying you right now? 0.01%? 0.5%? Let's expose the numbers in the comments. Your future isn't determined by how hard you work, it's determined by what you understand. And you just understood something that 90% of people will go their entire lives never knowing. This is Future Freedom 360. Keep moving forward. Let's build.